Hey everybody, Scott Jors here again, and this is another episode of the Wolf and the Neural Network. Today we need to talk about the investigation at Jodi Irving, the end of 2019, early 2020, and those involved from Irving Shipbuilding. We're going to start with Audra McCreesh, Jordan Jakobowski, Jim Perrin, and Jim Rennie. Now, these individuals absolutely committed fraud. They knew that the security reviews were submitted. They knew that Jodi Posavad failed, Jim Perrin failed, everything was listed, that no reasonable person would have proceeded using Jim Perrin, right? And would have said, look, something's going on here. And I would go into the audio recorded meeting January 27, 2020, and state, look, I can't give you information about anybody. Look at the conflict of interest here. I'm asking for a privacy policy or an expectation, and they wouldn't even provide it because they knew they were targeting employees and they were lying, cheating, and stealing. That's right. I wasn't being unreasonable, and then they stated that I was unreasonable and didn't provide any information. Who would, given all the evidence that was submitted? That's right. So Jim Rennie, VP of HR, absolutely knew this. Jordan Jakobowski absolutely knew this. Listen, during the investigation, in that recorded meeting, I had told them about them using my terms in my work in their job postings. 2 weeks later, they disappeared from the job postings. I contacted Jordan Jakobowski. He didn't contact me back or do anything. They knew that they were deleting evidence. They knew that the recorded meeting was botched and that they'd mocked racism and harassment. It's also narrative to get some other people. They knew all my reviews were solid, my technical reviews, everything. I even gave them military IP addresses. I gave them full technical reviews, and yeah. So like these people knew exactly what they were doing. You got to go back to the 26th of July, 2019. Audra McCreesh tried to offer me whatever I wanted. Now look at the record with HRP and Jim Perrin, right? My wallet goes missing and the end of May 2019, and then within 12 days, Jim Perrin gets his job transferred to Jodi Irving, and then he doesn't get transferred to November 19th. That's the same day that Dan Kinsella announces there will be an apology. I get an email from the government. Torstar shuts down their Halifax office. That isn't coincidence, right? And then I would get targeted by HRP. They would target my disabled mother through December. And children would be targeted by SUVs. That's right. So Jim Rennie, Jordan Jakobowski absolutely knew that Audra McCreesh was covering this up. Audra McCreesh absolutely knew about the past with my manager, which means she was covering it up. So they all knew that they were lying about this. But here's something really important. Look at Jim Rennie. So he stated that the provisions for Posavad were not applicable. Yet when I talked to the OPC, they're like, oh my God, you might get them on these provisions and stuff, and then came back and tried to say there was an order in council, but couldn't give me the order in council. Why wouldn't Jim Rennie just say there was an order in council? Because there wasn't an order in council. They are absolutely lying about this. 100% lying. That's right, and so is the OPC. Guess which letter went missing from my mailbox, everybody? That one, because they couldn't have known about that decision. That's right. Jim Rennie, Audra McCreesh, Jim Perrin, and Jordan Jakobowski absolutely committed fraud. They absolutely knew what they were doing, and this was an attack on every single Canadian. It was with the intention of defrauding Canadians and Canada. It was done absolutely with malice. They knew exactly what they did, and they tried to cover it up. That's right. So now, to all those employees, these people are going out taking pictures of you and stalking you and stuff around. That's right, so they can pretend they're heroes and victims when you know they are objectively useless. You all know it. That's why they need to do it. These people are terrorists. They aren't protecting you. They're not trying to protect any quality of work. They know what failures they are. Absolute units of failure, and that's what they're trying to protect themselves from. They hired that dirty cop to come in there and humiliate me, mock racism and harassment, tell me that I'm making this all up, and it's all some narrative to get him. Look at all this evidence, everybody. Awesome narrative to get Jim Perrin. Well, he can't even answer a basic question because he's a fraud and he is a terrorist. And I am absolutely not backing down from this, Mr. Perrin. You think that I am? No, you know that I'm not. I will have you registered as a sex offender. I will have you registered as a domestic terrorist. And I will have you locked in a cage for the next 15 years. Now, everybody at Irving Shipbuilding, you have a class action lawsuit. If you were put in a room with any of these individuals, especially Jim Perrin, Audra McCreesh, Jordan Jakobowski, Jim Rennie, go speak to your lawyer. All right? You actually have a class action lawsuit, and you have something serious on your hand because I can prove these people absolutely lied and retaliated against employees and committed fraud at scale. So I definitely go speak to your lawyers. If you were terminated or think they did something because of this case or any other case, you absolutely should go speak to a lawyer because I am not going to stop. I'm going to have these dirty frauds thrown in a prison cell if I can. All right, everybody, have a good day.